Hello, everyone. Today is February 27th, 2022. My guest today is Emily Yeates. Emily Yeates is a potter, illustrator, and sticker maker. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Emily.
Oh, thanks for having me, Karush.
You're welcome. So, how long have you been a potter?
I think I started back in 2018. Um, my dad is a potter, not professionally, but it's always been around the house. Did some in high school as well, but really started after college. Yeah, from YouTube.
You too?
YouTube.
You learned a lot of your pottery skills on YouTube?
Yeah.
Do you have a specific channel or person that you followed that was helpful?
No, there was a potter in Santa Cruz whose work I really liked. Her name's Coco Chispa, and basically I saw one of her mugs for like $40 at a store, and I was like, I can make that. And now,
Wow,
like thousands of dollars later and many hours later, I can make that.
nice. What do you mean thousands of dollars later?
um, two wheels in, lots of bags of clay, um, paints, brushes.
Got it.
Yeah,
Starting costs.
starting costs.
Wow. And did you go and meet that person? What's her name?
Her name's Coco Chispa, or that's her business. And no, I haven't met her, but just seen her work around and got a couple of her pieces and would take them to the store, the clay store, and be like, "What clay is this? What paint is this?" Etc. Etc. Um, yeah.
Nice. Wow. And you've been doing that consistently for the last 4 years?
Mm, pottery really goes like in and out of my life. I've moved a lot and have brought my wheel with me everywhere I've gone, but it's hard to travel with clay or like pieces. It's
I can
very,
imagine.
yeah, it's very cyclical. Um, so
Like you cyclical, get into phases of creating a lot of pottery and then you take a break.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. And you said you've moved a lot recently. We talked earlier, you moved to Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, so I started throwing in San Diego, then moved to Idaho,
Wow.
then Bali, then
Wow.
Placerville area,
Where's
then
Placerville?
like in between Sacramento and Tahoe, kind of.
Okay.
Um,
Close to Auburn.
yeah, yeah. Built a van there with an ex-partner.
Wow.
We traveled the coast quite a bit, basically like between Bay Area and Santa Barbara for a few months. Then Eugene, and now back to the Bay.
Back to the Bay.
Back to the Bay, yeah.
How was how was creating your own van?
It was a long process. I think we bought it May of 2019 and we didn't finish the build until like fall of 2021.
Wow.
So,
What
yeah, about a year.
what did you do with the van? Like what did modifications did you put in it?
Full build out. We had done one previously that was just like a bed and table. This one had like sink. We put in the solar, the fans, the electric. the whole thing. No bathroom, just like a bucket bathroom. Um,
Wow.
but everything else. Um, and since that one, I've had two more.
That's so how are you feeling about the vans? You're a fan?
Yeah, and the one that I've got now, Eleanor, she's a keeper.
Eleanor's a keeper. What
Ele-
makes her a keeper?
sh- she's just so that it's the 2006 Dodge Sprinter. They call them T1Ns. So it's all Mercedes parts, but it's under Dodge. And that series of Sprinters, yeah, they're called T1Ns. And the 2006 supposedly is the most coveted year of them as well.
Nice.
She's got crank windows, which I'm a big fan of.
What makes the 2006 coveted? Do you know?
I'm not sure. Um, just word on the street
Word
from
on the street in the
from the whole
van
yeah, from
community.
T1Ers.
T1 enters.
Yeah.
Are those are like the groupies of that type of van?
That's what I call them.
Okay, got it. The
Yeah,
T1 enter crowd.
I'm the third owner and all women owners. Um, the original owner was a woman named Snow, and she was a
Snow.
Snow, the florist. Um,
Did she transport flowers in that van?
yeah.
Okay. Snow the florist. Two.
Two was Kim, and she was a rock climber. Um, and she named Eleanor Eleanor.
Okay.
Yeah,
Inherited name. You didn't give it
inherited.
to her.
Yeah, named after Eleanor Roosevelt, um, because she said that the quote, "The only thing to fear is fear itself," was a Eleanor Roosevelt quote.
I didn't
Um,
know that.
yeah, so kind of a cool. Couldn't 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 toss the name Eleanor, you know.
No, no. That's
um,
a nice name.
yeah, and
And did her name was Kim, the second owner?
hmm
Did she mention that when she told it to you? Did she mention it with that quote?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I guess she also mentioned that Eleanor Roosevelt was like bisexual and had like a lot of um
Female partners?
just a lot of other partners.
Wow. That I did not know at all.
um but yeah, she courted me for about 5 hours before she let me put in an offer on her. Even she did not want her going to
Whoever.
yeah, she lived in her for 6 years.
Okay. Wow.
hmm
I can imagine there's attachment after that.
yeah, the
How long?
magic of Eleanor. She's got a lot of secrets, Krush.
A lot of secrets?
A lot of
That
wisdom in her.
a lot of wisdom in her. That sounded Australian, that accent. Right? Wow. Have you adventured with Eleanor?
So I just got her in November. I bought her up in um, Seattle. Yeah, I had like a little Ford Transit before, and I surf at the parking lot where I surf. There's like a lot of, I don't know, just car talk, you know. And someone told me about this website called Car Trader Car. I
Auto
forget.
Trader?
No, I forget what it's called. But basically, you tell them you want to sell your car. They FaceTime you. You show them the car. They send you a quote via email. You like accept it, sign some paperwork, and then they wire you the money. And then they come tow your car away. And it happened within like 3 days.
Dude, I did that like four weeks ago.
Did you?
Yeah, with my car, I was just over driving, and it was to a company called My Car Auction, and they gave me the best quote of anyone. Like, I put it online and they gave me the highest quote. And then a guy came, he used like his company's app and like did the video himself, and then wrote me a check right there, and I cashed it that day. It was literally a day after I put the ad out. It was, and they came by like 3 or 4 days later to tow it, but I cashed out literally the next day.
Yeah, I didn't I was like I would never trust this if you didn't tell me that it was legit. Um,
Yes,
I was like, this is sick.
very sick. And like I didn't think it was legit either. Like, I called them, like they had a some reviews on Google, so I like researched on Google, and then like the reviews were really high, and I called the number and it was the guy who reached out to me. It doesn't sound real, like, but it worked out for me. So like hope like I think it works out because the reviews online were great. But the car talk mentioned this, like these types of car sales.
Yeah, just this guy I surf with, and I was like, I found this van that I want, but I gotta sell this one. And he's like, dude, just use this thing. Like, someone told me about it. Like, they'll wire you the money in a day. I was like, okay. And
Did you do that?
yeah, and then I got Eleanor. I flew up to Eleanor, um, checked her out. The whole process of buying her like took a long time. Like I was up there for like a week just waiting on like some repairs and the appointments and whatnot. And then traveled up to Bellingham once I finally got her, which I'd never been to before.
Is that just north of Seattle?
Yeah, it's I think a couple hours. It's like basically the border of Canada.
Okay. How was it?
It was torrential downpouring, but
Wow.
the acoustics in Eleanor with the rain, oh, Karush.
Really nice.
S- Sweetest sleeping you'll ever have.
Wow.
But yeah, Bellingham's pretty nice. It's like the ferry town to get you to like Orcas Islands and all those kind of islands out there.
Okay. Did you go to any of those islands, or
No,
did you was there a reason you went to Bellingham, or did you just want to go?
just check it out. Yeah, heard about it. So, um,
It's kind of a crazy place. I've
Bell,
never been there, but
mm,
like that area of the United States.
yeah, I definitely would want to go back when it's not like torrential raining. Um,
You were there in November?
mhm.
Okay.
Right before that huge storm hit. So
Okay. There was a huge storm
I
in
think they
the
had a lot
Pacific.
of, yeah, they had a lot of flooding up there. Um,
Oh, I heard about that. And there Seattle's like not really equipped to handle the flooding, or I think I heard that there's a lot of people now, and I'm not sure. I'm gonna
I think just it was like the first big rain in a while, so a lot of like debris, a lot of like mud.
got it.
They like closing roads and whatnot.
Okay. And but you weren't there to experience that, luckily.
Yeah.
Wow. So what type of terrain can you take your vans on? Do you
Um,
go off-roading?
I'm an urban beach lady.
Got it.
Yeah. Um, so I haven't done much of that.
Not haven't taken her up to the mountains, just keeping to the coast.
Keeping sea level, Karush.
Sea level. You surfing a lot?
Yeah, I have been. I got a concussion about a month ago,
Oh
maybe like
no.
almost 2 months now. So that's put me out of the water for a little bit, but been getting back in recently. Um, yeah,
How'd you get your concussion?
surfing. Um, it was like I body surfed into the tail. I lost my board, and I was just swimming to get it. And the way that the tide was, I body surfed and it like backwash. The tide was pretty high, so there was some backwash, and it backwashed into me while I swam into it.
Damn.
So yeah, I got a bit of a scar here.
Yes. Wow. That dang. Was it was there a little blood? Wow. So when you say the tide, is that just water hitting you?
Yeah, like the way it was, the tide was pretty full, so when it hit this sandbar, it like bounced off of it.
Okay.
So I was swimming in, and the board was coming at me like
So
that.
that was the board that hit you.
Yeah, and I'm really lucky actually because it bounced below my eye and then above
Nice.
the
But
ground.
not at your eye.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, sorry to hear you got a concussion, but at least you still have your eye.
Yeah, and so I work with a hypnotist. I've been working with him since maybe August or so. And anyways, his wife's a chiropractor and craniosacral person, and they run a hyperbaric chamber.
Nice.
So today I had 31 out of my 40 hyperbaric sessions.
Wow.
Yeah.
H-
Um,
Could you define what a hyperbaric session is?
so it's basically oxygen therapy. Um, as humans, we breathe like 21% oxygen, and with hyperbaric, you go in this like high pressurized tank, and then you breathe and you put on like a mask, and you're getting like 98, 99% oxygen.
Wow.
So yeah, it was invented like back in the 1600s actually. So
Okay.
super old technology. Yeah.
How does it make you feel?
It's not like terribly different. Some days you can really feel the oxygen like pumping through your body, like physically. I had knee surgery like 8 years ago, and a lot of the time I'll feel my knee like tingle. Um, I think I'm healing from my concussion pretty well. Like, it's been pretty informative, this whole experience around concussions and how little we actually care for damage to the brain. Um, so this is my third one, and the the way that my hypnotist has explained it to me is that so for a concussion, you'd normally do like 10 to 20 hyperbaric sessions, and it's helping build back the blood-brain barrier with like cell growth. Um, but at 40, there's a lot of science about like full body, I don't know, whatever.
Regeneration.
Yeah, something of that nature. And in doing it, it's helping heal previous concussions, micro concussions, um, and whatnot. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. I mean, a lot of oxygen sounds good. It doesn't seem like it would hurt.
Yeah. Like LeBron does it, some
Nice.
like it's used for carbon monoxide poisoning. The place where I go, like a lot of Maverick surfers come in and out of there. Um,
Okay.
so
Are Maverick surfers usually professionals or Do you say that because they get like hurt by the waves a lot?
Yeah, I guess because they get hurt, and that's a heavy hit to take.
Yes.
One guy that was in there with me, someone dropped in on him, and he took a board to the back of the
Wow.
head. So just various things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. 40 sessions and you're on 31.
Mm-hmm.
That's and how do you space them?
So that's kind of why I haven't gone anywhere in Eleanor. Because you can't miss more than 48 to 72 hours.
Okay.
Because you're building it up over time. And that's why there's that like 40 number. It's because like after 40 and whatever, that's, I don't know.
Like you're good. Like 40.
I guess, or maybe past that, the benefits aren't so much, or maybe it kind of plateaus the benefits that it has. I'm not sure.
People just couldn't sustain that, 48 hour 72 mark after 40 sessions. They had to pick up and leave.
It's quite. I'm like, wow, I've made this whole like story around it with my Harry Potter scar and the Chamber of Secrets, and
Yes,
because
that's
it's
it.
laborious, it makes you tired sometimes. For sure,
How
it can be emotionally triggering as well. Um, I'm not really sure why, but um, the hypnotist warned me like, everything kind of gets amplified in the chamber, so be aware of what you're reading, what you're listening to. And I think because your body's working a lot, maybe causes some fatigue. I don't know.
Wow. Well, how long have you been working with the hypnotist?
Since the summer, yeah.
How is that?
It's really good. I met him, I was working at a coffee shop for a bit, and my mom had actually like suggested to me that I look into a hypnotist. And anyways, this Mike came in and he was wearing a shirt that said I love research. I said, what are you researching? He goes, I'm a hypnotist. um and yeah, we went for a walk, while he's like a hypnotherapist, hypnotist by nature. He's turned into a big mentor for me. Um, like when I go to our sessions, there's no time constraint. They usually last about 3 to 4.5 hours.
Wow.
Um, we go for walks together. I call him if I have questions. Like we have a pretty good. I feel really like um, comfortable calling him whenever. Um, I just bought a guitar and now he's teaching me bass at the end of our session to get progressively longer. Um,
Okay. How are you liking the bass?
it's cool. Uh, I never held one before or anything, and it's definitely a lot different. um,
Have you played an instrument before?
a long time ago, like flute, um,
Back
a
in the
little,
day.
back in the day, a little ukulele, like here and there, but no, no.
How does the ukulele compare to the bass?
I picked it up the other day. I was like, wow, this thing feels like a recorder.
Because it's so small and
Mhm.
toyish.
Yeah, toyish is exactly how it felt.
That's exciting. Bass, learning a new, very cool skill.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 3 to 4 hours is a very long time. like, I don't know what a lot of providers, that is not what in the realm of their possibility.
Yeah. I feel really lucky, to have someone to kind of walk this journey along with me. Um, a lot of like, it's really all encompassing of like every part of my life. Um, we do a lot of different exercises and go through them, and they kind of build upon each other. And
Do you have any exercises you feel comfortable sharing?
yeah, um, so there's what we call like the seat of our soul, and it's like somewhere between like your heart and your backbone, somewhere in that general area. And one of the first things that he taught me that I implement a lot is from that spot, imagining like he calls it my pop. He's like, imagine like your favorite flower, or I use like the image of like a glass bubble, and basically shoot that out from the seat of your soul. And it can be, 12 feet, 18 feet. It can be out to the horizon. And basically, whatever hits that, it's kind of protecting your energy. And I really loved this description of like when something hits that glass, like it just like rolls off the side. So yeah, a lot of the time when I'm walking, I'm trying to like shoot out that bubble. Or if I'm at the beach, like practicing sending it, yeah, all the way to the horizon, practicing extending it. I have a hard time extending it downwards.
Okay.
That's a hard image for me to get, is protecting my space from behind and down. But yeah, um, a lot of like chakra aligning too.
What
So
what is what's involved with chakra aligning?
so there's 7 subtle energy bodies, whatever. The first one starts at your root and then it goes up to your head, and basically he'll have me like sit feet on the ground, and from the tailbone, like it's like imagine like an anchor or huge redwood oaks, like roots, like shoot, like pulling you down into the ground, um, like connecting to the earth's core, like, and then from there, starting with your root chakra, trying to imagine it spinning. Um, and once that one gets spinning, you go to the next one, and then the next one. um, yeah, and you're trying to cycle out old energy, like have the earth absorb it. Once you get to your heart, the it goes out and around like that, and then your throat, your third eye, crown, and then you're also bringing in like fresh new energy. Um, yeah, and kind of just sitting there trying to get them all moving. Um, yeah.
That sounds like I'm sure you're so he's guiding you through this.
Yeah.
Okay. Having a guide for those types of reflective, that's very, I think that's reflective just because you're concentrating on your own, chakras. And when you speak to it like that, you kind of, I was imagining it going up like my body. And that takes a lot of awareness and observation. And it's very important, but I don't think it's necessarily intuitive. And having a guide there, you know, is very helpful to, he's there providing you with some sort of lesson and some sort of, you don't really have to think about it so much. You can just listen to him and take what he says and then just react to it instead of having to, that insight isn't, taught to everyone either. And it having I think having a guide is very helpful in attempting to do reflective work by ourselves. It's still fruitful, but I think having someone there to assist us in it, and them also observing us and able to give us a more subjective analysis, helps us in our growth.
Totally. It's still super hard to when he's even guiding me. I'm like I can't get the solar I can't get the solar plexus moving. Like
Yes,
that one stopped.
yes. And what do you mean by getting the solar plexus moving?
Like get the root going and then solar plexus. I'm like that one, like my head ones spin well. My grounding ones I have a hard time moving. Um,
Okay. What
so just noticing that I can't really get them going a lot of the time.
That's
Yeah.
good insight.
Oh. And he's always reminding me too, because sometimes they'll come in there like, ah, blah, 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 blah. You know, he's like, are you shooting out your poppy? Like, always reminding me to be making sure that the energy that I'm in is mine, you know? So, yeah, I feel super extra fortunate to have stumbled upon him at the coffee shop.
Nice. And you were practicing with him before you got your concussion, right?
Yeah.
That's very helpful to have, if it was something more serious, that would have been terrible. But even with something like that, you have someone to go back to and talk about, and he's able to assist you by providing you with more services that his wife provides. Cryotherapy. It's not is it
Hyperbaric.
hyperbaric chamber? I apologize. I always get those two, and there might be a third one mixed up where someone gets into a very like
Yeah.
tube.
I mean, I thought I was showing up to a deprivation tank when they told me about it.
Deprivation. Yes. Okay.
I had no idea I was calling it hyperbolic.
Hyperbolic chamber.
They're like, make sure you have clean socks. I was like, why do I need clean socks if I'm going into a water tank?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Oh man.
But
Wow.
no, so
Yeah, now you've been through 30 plus sessions, so you know the name.
yeah.
Oh man. Have you done any therapy before? Or is this
Yeah.
or
I ha-
hypnosis before?
I hadn't done hypnosis. Um, and I think, you know, I don't know what exactly is the definition of hypnosis either, because I never am like, there's the classical, like, go get your eyes, whatever, all
Yes.
twisted. But I'm always there, there's nothing that I'm not aware of. It's more, I think, in the realm of just energy work in general. Um, I was actually listening to a podcast today from someone who had just gotten their therapy license, and he was talking about It was like people in dealing with their credit card debt and how he'll have people like talk to their credit card debt. And that's a lot of what we do actually is talk to people in sessions. Um, like finish off conversations, or if there's something that you want to say to somebody but you don't think they're necessarily ready to hear it, then you have that conversation there with them, um, and having that kind of be a way of letting it be known. um, so yeah.
And you heard that on a podcast today?
Well, that first part about the credit card debt, and then the second part is what we do. So I was like, oh, so maybe that's part of hypnotherapy is a lot of like conversation talking, like pretending someone's there in the room. Yeah, because I really don't understand what it is. I just know that I go and it's improving my life, and um, I'm enjoying it.
Nice. What improvements have you felt in your life?
I think just learning to trust my gut a lot more. Like if there's any sort of thing that I pick up on, um, not ignoring it, not making note of it. It's been really empowering, like sending out that poppy, you know. Um, it's a lot of reprogramming traumatic experiences. Um, Learning how to, I was having some pretty awful nightmares
Oh, wow.
and was getting pretty afraid to even go to bed because of them. And, but having tools to be able to like kind of create a sense of safety and protection and then not be afraid to go to bed or not be afraid of certain things. Yeah. Um, but really like growing the confidence in myself and trusting what I am, like just really filtering out what doesn't belong to me, what does. um yeah.
That's very, like you said, very empowering to gain a trust, because that, I guess we can call it intuition, is always there. And I felt it too, but it's, if you don't trust yourself or there's hesitancy, then you don't go for that intuition or you don't act on it. And usually, I mean, maybe not always, but more often than not, I feel we know what's best for us. And usually that intuition, I feel, is correct because our analysis of our situation is better than most other people's input on our situation.
Mm, totally.
I felt like in 2021, you know, that word traumatic experiences, I feel like I've had it too. And some people might be hesitant to use that word for their own experiences, but it is something that when we're young, certain events happen in our lives and they can define our outlook or the way we react to certain inputs of energy into our space. And you know, a lot of times our, if we don't trust our intuition, our reaction to it, then we hesitate and we let things pass. And I guess it's very difficult to get over traumatic experiences. It involves redefining boundaries. And how do you feel? Like, I feel as though I've had to significantly redefine boundaries in this last, 18 months, just kind of like you said, like you've been doing, learning to trust my own intuition. And it's really empowering. There are certain things that, I would be like, oh, I need to ask my friend his opinion, and then my parents their opinion, and then like get, go online, do some research and find some online opinions about it. But in reality, I pretty capable at this point, even at younger points, of analyzing a situation, analyzing what I value and don't value, and then moving forward with whatever action I feel is most, is going to be most conducive to me having a fulfilling life, rather than taking in other people's inputs, which will probably not be as well, I don't know, probably not as intuitive towards my situation as I am.
Totally. Yeah, you know what's best for you, and um, kind of going to hip, the hypnotist is a constant reminder of that, uh, a reinforcement. So
Nice.
yeah, and I definitely think we all experience trauma, um, and facing it. Uh, I've been this year has been a lot of crying, and I've it'll kind of like right now I'm feeling pretty good, but there's times when I'm like, and now I miss crying when I don't do it for a certain amount of time. I'm like, okay, like come on, let me get some tea. It's like jumping into the ocean or something. It's a big
Yes.
release, but there's a lot of shame and stigma around it. And um, with my pottery this year, I've been reading a lot of or looking at a lot of Native American pottery, and kind of reading some books about Native American culture, and looking up quotes for stickers, and they talk about crying a lot, like being the rain synonymous with crying, and how like it's a cleansing of the spirit. And um yeah, so it's been kind of fun to face these things, because you feel so much lighter afterwards. Um, and to know that I'm not going to be continually carrying that around with me, but instead learning. I love the way Mike describes it. It's like, okay, you've just gone through this. Now you've put in a lot of work to learn some lessons from it. Like, what do you want to what golden nuggets do you want to take away from that, and what do you want to like leave behind? um but still like giving me the space to process it and cry over it, and um fully feel all the pain, all the grief, all the joy, um that a lot of other people haven't fully given me permission to feel. Like, oh, don't be angry, just get over it. Like, more the like don't be angry part. It's like, no, I need to be angry, like, and then I
Yes.
won't be.
Yes.
So
It's yes. I mean, people, I've heard a lot, we, what's wrong? You have a great life. Why are you crying? And it's ridiculous. We're all humans, and we all, have our like standards of this world, and it's not like just because someone's really, has a lot of money, or has, great relationships, or whatever it may be, that we all kind of strive for, or some people strive for. There's ups and downs, and I, it doesn't really, and sometimes those downs are really intense. Like it happens. Like if the day doesn't have a terrible down, it's actually a pretty good day. And so to not, it's I I can sympathize with people not giving you space because, objectively they might say, oh, what's wrong? You've got such a rich life doing whatever XYZ. But it's like, no, I had these life events that happened to me years ago. They've, things have built over time. And I'm in a situation right now that, you know, hurts for whatever reason. And release it, like being angry. It's like sometimes, someone does something to us and it's really hurtful. And maybe being angry doesn't necessarily, I don't know, help, but it's very natural and it's very understandable. And like you said, you're going to be angry and then you're not going to be angry after that. And that's the most important part that we're all trying to get to, is to that not being angry. And, maybe for you or me, it was, anger is that thing, that elephant in the room that we can't handle. But then for that podcast guest or host that you mentioned earlier, their credit card debt or their gambling debt is that elephant in the room that those people can't handle. And so just acknowledging it in any form, I think, whether that be an emotional outpour for an emotion we're feeling or some sort of way, or just an external entity that really is going to have a huge repercussion in our lives, but we don't really have the strength to face it. It's, it's still, it's not that weak. It's like you said, going into that, it's actually strong. And, if you're suppressing those feelings, it's going to be tough for you to be there for other people and be strong for other people as well, whenever you're able to, or whenever I'm able to. I think allowing things to fester, and I think that puts us in a vulnerable spot, and there needs to be some reflection, and sometimes that requires a guide. I think a lot of times that requires a guide in order to make sure that we're not left vulnerable after, whatever this elephant in the room may be.
Totally. And I think too, just being clear, that there is, or at least there is healthy anger and unhealthy anger. And yeah, I it's been cool to like express anger at someone in an empty room. It's like I can have all the kind of nasty things I want to say to that person without actually saying them to their face.
Yes.
And yeah, and then there's just been like, I mean, a lot of the times that I've called the hypnotist is when, so I went from having a van with a partner to a van as a single woman, and I didn't really realize how scary that would be. And just nothing has happened, but there's been like weird situations that have been clearly uncomfortable. And even though nothing crazy was going on. And even learning to like go for hikes alone. I don't have a dog, and I'm not really equipped to have one because I don't know what's happening, so being a woman walking alone, no dog, um it's caused a lot of it's been a big theme of my year.
Wow.
And I remember one day I was feeling so low, like to the point where I woke up to my parents. I was like, you guys, like, I've gone surfing, I've done art, I've talked to friends, like, but I just do not want to be awake right now. Like, the last thing I want to do is really face the day. And I remember I like went down, I just drove Highway 1, found a beach, and was hanging out, cleaning Eleanor, and a car kind of rolled by that looked suspicious, but I was like, okay, don't like. My friend that I'd never seen in his car before was like, I saw him in his car. I was like, wow, that looks like a creepy car. So I was like, okay, try not to judge a car by its cover because it could be, a super nice friend. But it was something in my gut, that was like, this is not cool. And basically, I like started walking down to the beach. The guy acted like he was leaving, like drove away. And anyways, the way I was like, well, I'm not actually going to go down to the beach. Like, I'm going home. And the way that I walked back to my car, he couldn't see that I was back at my car. And he pulled up behind. He left for like probably like 7-8 minutes, and then came back, pulled up, parked behind me, and I was in front of my car, so he couldn't see that I was there. And then I just got in my car and left. But I was like, you tried to trick me. Like, you, whatever. And so then I drove home and I was just like kind of in tears. It not solely from that situation, but because of all other, just, it brought up a lot of sexual trauma and just incidences of being fearful as a woman in general, and having my nervous system like off the chain, and anyways, I I came home and I called the hypnotist, and we just went for a walk around the neighborhood. And um I don't really remember where I was going with this, but is this like, he was just like kind of telling just he was kind of telling me, like, I'm here to like walk alongside of you. Like, part of our job as like men is to protect women. Like, back in old cultures, like that's what men did. Like, women, they were protectors. And um yeah, oh, I remember. I was just so angry. I was really angry that like that had to be my experience, that I couldn't just go relax at the beach, And it's something that's been really like, my eyes have been like opened up to that, not having a partner anymore. Being like, well, okay, I can't just like go sleep on the beach and be comfortable. Like, I wish I could, but it's just not the reality of my world. Um, yeah, and becoming so much more aware of that this past year, of how that affects my body. And um, yeah, yeah.
That, wow, that's very not, that's very shitty.
It is, but um, what I don't know. Haven't quite figured that one out yet, Krish. Started carrying pepper spray around with me, but only occasionally. Don't really like that.
Oh man, that's yeah, that is I feel like, you know, I hear about those things like a big man such as myself, and we don't I'd never lived that or experienced that. And you were in a very how long was your relationship?
8 years.
8 years. Wow. That so you haven't really experienced that for years. And back then you were in college, and I don't know if you think, being a woman out in the world is a little bit different than being younger.
I think yeah, I do. I mean, especially because I'm in my van.
Yes.
Um,
And solo hikes, I mean, it's very creepy for someone to kind of be on the lookout for that in any sort of way. There's got to be men who are kind of, you know, predators and predators in that sense of just keeping their eyes aware of, females like you, or not even just females, possibly vulnerable men as well, but most usually females that, are alone.
yeah, but I mean, I guess I brought it up because of anger and just being allowed to be like angry about it. Like,
Yes.
come on, this is not fair. Like, and it's okay, but I'm a little upset right now about it.
Yes. Someone, I felt treated me very poorly 2 months ago, exactly 2 months ago around the new year. They
Mm,
broke some news to me that was, obviously anyone in the situation could acknowledge that, you know, it wasn't fair either, the way they treated me. And I wrote a really nasty poem about that person. Like, I'm not usually that type to write things like that, but it was just line after line of saying very nasty things. And, I never sent that. I never released it. I released some of my poetry online. That one I didn't. And, I don't know if I ever will. Maybe I will someday. But it was, I mean, I'm kind of over it at this point. I mean, not completely, but that was a huge part. I was really, really upset
mhm.
with that person. And I mean, your situation's, I think, a bit worse because that person can do terrible things to you. But, I mean, it's ridiculous to think that we can't give ourselves the space to do that. But like you said, there's good anger and there's dirty anger. And I think one thing, for me, that in the last like 3 or 4 years, I've really, I picked up meditation practice a few years ago, and I used guided apps and just also some YouTube videos. And there's a lot of lessons in that. Like, you can meditate and focus on your breath and all that, but there's like some deep inherent lessons to life that aren't very obvious. And so one of them was forgiveness. And I think, that is, that clean anger comes with a sense, for me at least, of eventual forgiveness, because I think when it becomes dirty anger is when we output that back to whatever person or individual that, in kind of flamed that in us. And that doesn't mean we should allow ourselves to be vulnerable. I'm very much against, I think we have to take it upon ourselves to not be vulnerable in whatever sense that means to us, but still not outputting that anger back onto other people in a sort of way which can fire that up within them.
Yeah. So with the chakra aligning, and that rooted into the ground, the idea is that you get to neutralize that, and the earth takes it on. She's there to absorb it and neutralize it, and that's been a nice way of thinking about it.
Nice.
Having the earth be the, you know, the grounder of that.
Absolutely.
Um,
I'm actually that's funny that you say grounder and we talk about energy. I'm taking a certification test in electrical power on
mm.
Friday, and it's all about grounding and like electrical grounding, but I mean it it works the same way with, like our energy, whether that be especially anger, because it's such a, like, so high intensity compared to a lot of the other ones. Love is also very high intensity,
Mm.
but I've noticed anger can just spark out of control.
Mm. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Emily, do you have any last words for our audience?
um, I so when I got this scar, and then the Chamber Secrets, and I've been growing this whole Harry Potter story. Um, but I made like a little promo video for my stickers, and anyways, I was calling myself Steven Spielberg for a while. I was like, oh, Steven Spielberg, yeah. um,
What's Steven Spielberg?
he's like he's like a movie maker.
Yes, yes.
um, I don't know what movies, but I know some expensive
Very
ones.
expensive. Jurassic Park.
Okay, okay. And anyways, I had a friend be like, "Well, Emily, if you don't dream big, how can anything big ever happen?" And I was like, "Wow, thank you." So that was like a recent piece of knowledge that someone gave me that I thought was a good one, because I think at least I tend to diminish what I'm capable of, um, and think it really does start with like dreaming big. So, yeah.
My guest today has been Emily Yeates. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Emily.
Thank you, Karush.